plexus, and today I have a new video to bring you. So, as you know, I went to SummerSlam, and as you also should know, The Fiend debuted, and he is one of the most talked about wrestlers, and my personal second favorite, behind Roman Reigns. So, it's so fascinating, I thought it'd be a great idea to fantasy book The Fiend. So that's what's gonna happen in this video. So first we gotta go over some things. If you haven't seen SummerSlam, The Fiend destroyed Bray Wyatt, debuting the Mandible Claw. The Mandible Claw. And that took him out. He had some other weird things. YouTube, don't demonetize me. This is real life. But he came out, he normally has a lantern, but this time the lantern had a silhouette of his last gimmick's head. So that is pretty crazy for a PG show. But anyways, I popped like crazy, and I think the WWE Universe is very excited. They made a Funhouse box, it sold out already, and I thought, he's so fascinating. I was gonna talk Pile Driver, but I thought I'd make it here. I'm gonna Fantaspot. So note that this will be amazing. Then don't judge. We're starting off with after the so as of recording, the after SummerSlam has already happened. The Fiend was nowhere to be seen. So I'm gonna start booking next week. Check the video description and then you'll know when it takes place. So next week on Raw, the Fiend is gonna not show up for most of it, but in the main event, we're gonna have The Miz versus AJ Styles. And in this match, I would have it be back and forth, like, the Club tries screwing The Miz over, but in the end, Ricochet comes down and makes it a DQ. But the Club then take out Ricochet. Miz takes out the Club all on his own. And then, while he's standing in the ring, suddenly it starts to flicker, the lights, and the Fiend shows up. He takes the Miz out and Mandible claws him, and the OC run away, and that's how Raw ends, with the Fiend standing above the Miz. So the next week on Raw, I would have the Miz fight Dolph Ziggler once again. So in this match, the Miz would come out to begin, and before what's his face? Before Ziggy could come out, a Firefly Funhouse episode plays. And he talks about how the Fiend was being very mean last week, and he should not have done that. He is not one of the Fiend's victims. So the Miz wrestles the match, But after um, the lights flicker and nothing happens. And then in the ring, the Miz sees the lantern, but this time it has his head on it instead of Bray's, and he gets freaked out. So I believe after those episodes we'll be at Clash of Champions, and as I'm playing this match, I will tell you the result. So it'll be pretty one-sided, but in the end, the Mandible Claw takes him out. Bray Wyatt pins him after doing the Mandible Claw and wins. So, the next few weeks are pretty quiet. People are wondering what's up with the Fiend. But at Hell in a Cell, they're still wondering what's going on with him. The Fiend is nowhere to be seen until then. It's just Bray Wyatt, the teacher. So, at Hell in a Cell, in the main event, and note, at Clash of Champions, Seth Rollins retained against Braun Strowman. And this is important to the story. Seth Rollins' title run till then. In the upcoming weeks, Brock Lesnar returns and demands a rematch. So at Hell in a Cell, there is a 3-person Hell in a Cell match between Lesnar, Strowman, and Rollins. And in that match, Rollins would retain. Hard-fought match, but he comes out as the victor. But before he could celebrate, the Fiend shows up. Seth tries getting out of the cell, but the Fiend traps him in the cell. And Seth doesn't know where to go. He comes in the cell and he makes Seth Rollins pass out. And, okay, WWE, this is my fantasy booking. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but it's okay, I think, if we have one dark ending. This match should not go on last because of this. The Fiend puts him in the claw, but Seth breaks out, and then he Uranagis him, and that next snap move he does to Finn, he does to Seth. And Seth is out. The Fiend holds the title up. But in the weeks going up to Survivor Series, originally it is a non-title match. It's the Fiend versus Rollins. But as more things happen, the Fiend gets under his skin. Actually, I'm not going to have the match be at Survivor Series. I'm going to have a special pay-per-view in Japan. Terror in Tokyo, or whatever. Out of this world pay-per-view. Please don't give copyright claims on this video, whoever made this arena. I give all credit to you. But in this match, it'd be a non-title match, like I said before, previously. And let's start the match. So, I'll talk about the build-up. Some things he could do. Seth is in the ring. He's holding the title. The Fiend thing plays. He doesn't show up, but the title goes away. And then he's walking. Same thing with The Miz. His face is on the lantern. And I just have really creepy segments with Seth Rollins and The Fiend. People try to bar him from the arena, but he can't move anywhere. They can't get him out, basically. And this is starting to become an issue. And at first, Seth Rollins, the GM of Raw, Paul Heyman, there's a promo with Seth where he says he fought Brock. He fought Brock. He thought he prevented Brock. He tried his darnest to prevent him, and he did for a bit, but the Fiend will not go away. So we have segments where Rollins wants the match, and Paul Heyman won't let him get it. But then the Fiend starts terrorizing Raw. He doesn't wrestle on Raw yet. He doesn't wrestle yet. Because the Fiend is still a nightmare. And we want him to be an attraction. So, eventually, because of the ruckus the Fiend is causing on Monday Night Raw's roster, Paul Heyman agrees to the match. But for protection of his brand, because at this point, keyword, at this point, the Fiend doesn't care about the Universal title. He doesn't care. He just wants to destroy Monday Night Raw. He wants to eliminate Monday Night Raw's stars and every jobber within it as well. So, non-title match. And I'll just book ahead. It doesn't get boring. In this match, The Fiend defeats Seth Rollins. It's a hard-fought match, but The Fiend defeats him. The announcers say this is the closest anybody has come, but yet the Mandible Claw, instead of pinning him, he makes Seth Rollins pass out. And then he takes Seth Rollins backstage. And once again, depending on what WWE wants, he does the neck snap. The arena goes silent. The Fiend is standing tall, like every other night. So, from there, we know that Survivor Series is coming up. And Raw is full of major players, but SmackDown has no one. And The Fiend came in after SmackDown attacks Raw as a punishment for letting The Fiend letting SmackDown attack Raw. Paul Heyman unleashes The Fiend upon SmackDown night after night in the build-up to Survivor Series. The Fiend takes out everybody. Nobody can stand a chance. But then, the only guy, Eric Bischoff, the GM of SmackDown, knocks on Aleister Black's door. And from that point on, have the weird segments, have the insane segments where the Fiend confronts Aleister Black. And at this point, the teacher Bray Wyatt is starting to go away. He is starting to fear the Fiend himself. And the more the weeks go by, the more he fears the Fiend. And we're gonna start building this now. The teacher does not like the monster. So, at Survivor Series, well, it's the next quarter, but after the, I'll skip the February. So, the Fiend is running a ruckus, but Aleister Black does not let it go to SmackDown. He destroys Raw, but on the final, but Aleister Black stops him. He stops him in his tracks. And for the first time, the Fiend does not stand tall in the end. After he mandible claws him, without the Fiend knowing, he gets a black mass. And from there, we come to Survivor Series. So, at Survivor Series, this is once again a close-ish match. It's not completely close because even Aleister Black cannot stand much of a chance against the Fiend. It is still just like SummerSlam. The Fiend dominates the match. Aleister gets some close calls. But no, it's not enough for the monster. And in the end, as you see, the Fiend makes Aleister pass out and pins him. The first man in WWE history to pin Aleister is the Fiend. And the reason I do not want to skip tables, ladders, and chairs is because of the main match. It is a TLC match where the rules are bent. Seth doesn't want it like this, but it's a TLC match where for Seth Rollins, tables, ladders, and chairs are legal, but for the Fiend, they are not. So, This is the main event of tables, ladders, and chairs. This is what it's all been leading up to for The Fiend. It's been leading up to his world title shot, which will likely happen this year. But I personally think you should build The Fiend up. Let it go. Do not push him to the moon. Don't give him a shot at Clash of Champions. Give him a shot later down the line. So, after beating many people, after beating The Miz, after beating Rollins, after beating Aleister Black, and after destroying the roster, The Fiend has his first title match at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. So, building up to this title match, Paul Heyman becomes paranoid about The Fiend. And just like the crossover event with said country, Paul Heyman does not want The Fiend to get a title shot. And the only reason it didn't happen then is because The Fiend desired terrorizing the roster. But now that he has scared the Firefly Funhouse, now that the Firefly Funhouse is merely Seth's assistant, The Fiend embraces his power and he sees the potential in being Universal Champion. And he feeds off of the fear of others. That's his thing now. He feeds off everybody else's fear and shock. So, he thinks the only way he could shock everybody is if he gives up his just destroy people shtick and challenges for a world title against someone who he's previously defeated. So, Seth Rollins in the build-up is surprisingly confident due to the fact that he just beat SmackDown's champion Kofi Kingston at Survivor Series. He is confident. He beat Braun. He will not let The Fiend destroy himself. Everybody else on the roster is afraid, but he has a cheer at all times. Whenever The Fiend shows up, he always gets an attempted beatdown. But the issue is that that's all they are, attempted. Seth Rollins creeps up on him, but then out of nowhere, he'd have segments where he'd get creeped up on, and then just turn around and yell at him like nothing happened. So, Seth is Raw's last hope, basically. And nobody knows what the Fiend is. What he is still. But in the match, Seth Rollins, for the first time in his career, I'd scratch the other ones. He does the neck snapping move to Seth. And Seth Rollins goes for a knee, but then gets caught in the claw. He stays for a while, but he passes out. And the Fiend is the new Universal Champion. So, the next night on Raw, there is a brand-wide battle royal to fight the Fiend, but he retains. After he retains, the lights go out. Everybody is wondering what's going on, because the Fiend is the only one that has the lights go out. Yet he looks shocked. He's not in fear. He is shocked to see the Demon King Finn Balor. Yes, Finn Balor comes back, and for the first time in a face-to-face confrontation, the Fiend gets taken out. He gets clotheslined over the top rope, and it's the Demon versus the Fiend for the Universal title at the Royal Rumble. In the build-up, I would have them make their own characters, do whatever they want. Bray has a brilliant mind, and I believe Finn and him could create magic in the ring. Imagine the segments between Finn and the Fiend. Imagine the interactions. Go over their history. And here we find out what the Fiend is. We find out he is an experiment made in the Funhouse by the Funhouse friends. And there's one Funhouse friend he likes more than anyone. And in the build up to the Royal Rumble, nobody knows who it is. But in this match, I would have this be a clinic. Match of the night. The Fiend's best match ever. And I would have multiple coup de grace, multiple Uranagis, and these men just burn the house down. Finn gives it everything he has, every single of him. and the commentators build up. They talk about how the Fiend has been undefeated for about 6 months, but the Demon has been undefeated for three for over 3 years. And then I would have the finish happen when the Fiend dodges a coup de grace. And just like SummerSlam, right when he dodges, the Fiend capitalizes and locks him in the mandible claw. And at this moment, Finn is fighting. He's in it fighting for 30 seconds, about 30 seconds. But eventually, it's too much. The ref calls for the bell. The Fiend wins. The Fiend is seemingly heading alone to WrestleMania. Until, from out of nowhere, a bearded man named Luke attacks him. He introduces him as Luke, but it is quickly realized and revealed it's Luke Harper. And Luke Harper beats the ever-loving crap out of the Demon King. And he is the Fiend's right-hand man. So, I'm gonna finish this match quick because I don't want it going on too long, quite frankly. So, the Fiend retains the title, and I might as well talk about what happens later. So, later in the night, the final four are Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and Big E. You may be asking, just disclaimer to this video, there's a New Day triple threat, so I'd have Big E get a huge push going into that. And, so first, Brock Lesnar is eliminated by the three of them. Then, it's just Seth, Big E, and Roman Reigns. And then, oh yeah, by the way, Big E turned heel earlier in the night. And then, Roman's outside the ring, not eliminated. He gets, kneed or, I don't know, speared through the middle rope. Kneed. Let's do kneed. And, Seth is on a roll. He is about to eliminate Big E, but then Drew McIntyre claymores him out of nowhere. We want to give Drew a push here, by the way. So he gets claymored, and it's down to two people, Biggie and Roman Reigns. And after Xavier Woods distracts Biggie, Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble. He's heading, everybody assumes he's going for the Kofi Kingston because he's on SmackDown and because the Fox deal. But he chooses the Fiend and he vows to extinguish the wrath he has caused on Raw. So, event of WrestleMania, the Fiend versus the Big Dog in Florida. And I'd give the Fiend the best entrance, the most insane entrance you could possibly give him. And FYI, I want his entrance to stay. So, in the main event, well, I'll talk about what happens before the event. So, the next night, the Fiend comes out. He's looking forward to Roman Reigns. He takes Roman Reigns out at the end of the night, though, after he fights a grueling match with, like, Seth or something. Oh yeah, Roman's drafted to Raw now. And, while he's beating him up, a gong happens. Yes, it's The Undertaker. He has come to destroy the Fiend because he is still running a ruckus. They don't want to wait till Mania. They want to destroy him right now. And, at the Chamber pay-per-view, No Way Out. No Way Out. That's a way cooler name. No Way Out. The Undertaker loses by the skin of his teeth because of Luke Harper. But at the next event, Finn Balor takes out Luke Harper. And the build-up is The Fiend versus Woken Matt Hardy. And in this match, Bray Wyatt would retain. And after the match, I'd also have Jeff Hardy come. So, I might as well book the whole card until this match. So, let's go through the matches I've planned already. Seth versus Drew. In that match, I will have Drew McIntyre win. That will shotgun him to the big spot, to the main event, and the announcers could talk about how he is the first man to beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, because that's true. And then the Demon versus Luke Harper. I would have it be a steel cage match. And as the Demon is leaving through the top of the cage after an insane coup de grace, Luke Harper literally rolls out and lands on the floor. He rolls on the stairs, he rolls on the floor. So he gets the ultimate cheap steel cage match win. And What was the other matches? Oh, the New Day one. I would have Kofi Kingston retain by pinning Xavier Woods in a triple threat. And FYI, Big E would win the belt at the Backlash or Money in the Bank or whatever. The pay-per-view after, basically. And then, we got one more match. Yeah. Woken Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy being the heel. And I would have Woken Matt win. So, in this match, the main event, I'm going to commentate from now. So, as you see, the Fiend locks in the mandible claw and tries to get a count out. It's at 9, and Roman barely makes it back in. But then he gets hit with a big Uranagi. And the beginning of this match, before this happened, I would have it be pretty back and forth, pretty fair. Wait, what was... Okay. Awkward. Oh. So, I'd have Bray... Okay, that mandible claw never happened, because that would make sense at the match right now. So, Bray's dominating him. He does that outside the ring. And then he goes for the post. And throws him in the ring. And he grabs the urn he brought down and breaks it. So he's breaking it right now. But then Bray Wyatt from out of nowhere tries to get him Superman punch. And then Bray kicks out at 0. The whole arena is shocked. And the Fiend is just destroying the ever-leading poop out of Roman Reigns. And then Roman slings him off the ropes. He catches his boot. And then Roman goes for that. Gets speared. You'd think this would be it, but he kicked it out at 1. He's losing his mind now. He gets a steel chair because he is having none of it. He beats up the ref. Bray tries to get him. He gets smacked in the head with the chair. And Roman's just unloading on him at this point. He doesn't care about the rules or anything. And then he covers him again. 1, 2. He still kicks out. At this point, Roman Reigns is losing his mind. Superman punch. One. Bam. He kicks out again. He doesn't know what to do. But he decides a second spear should do it. He spears him again. 1, 2. He kicks out of a second spear. Roman Reigns is going insane at this point. He's getting on him. He's punching him in the face. The blood is pouring. Now, it's showing on his mask. The Fiend is vulnerable. He picks him up. Samoan drops him. He is going insane. He's unloading everything he can. Leg drops. His face. And now he's targeting his skull. Michael Cole talks about how he's never seen him like this. And now, everything seems right finally. The Fiend is about to go down to a third spear, but Roman gets caught in the face. And then the Fiend locks it in. It's over. It's over. Michael Cole screams, it's over. He doesn't know if Roman will make it, but somehow he is the first man to break the mandible claw. Bray Wyatt is going insane now. Biting his head. Headbutts. Now just beating the hell out of him. Oh, another one. He got 2 mandible claws and still broke out of it. He's going insane on the outside. He scares the commentators away. He's beating the hell out of them. He brings the chair in. The ref takes it. But then Roman tries to get him. But then he gets planted on the chair. Bray Wyatt has had enough of it now. He has had enough of Roman Reigns. He wants to end this match. Before, he bestowed fear. The Undertaker, he was playing with him. 1 mandible claw was all it took. But this guy is taking it like it's nothing. He hits him with the chair. Everybody's booing. 1, 2. Oh my God. He kicked out. He kicked out. Nobody could believe. Roman Reigns is coming back though. But he just keeps getting demolished. He's getting a bit of a comeback. There is no commentators now. This is just a fight for utter survival. Bray Wyatt takes him out again. But then, he does that to him. Okay, that was really bad. I'm sorry. And now Bray Wyatt is just trying to destroy him. He goes for, tries to pick him up. He looks out. He stomps. But all of a sudden, Roman rolls out the way and spears him. And then he finally wins. Thank you for watching this video. I had fun fantasy booking The Fiend. The ending was a bit weird, not gonna lie, but this is how I'd do it until WrestleMania. So before I end, I want to do a quick overview of this. So let's go through what happened in the story. Here's a summary. So in the beginning, the Fiend was haunting The Miz. He defeated The Miz at Clash of Champions. But then after that, he suddenly disappeared, the Fiend. The commentators were asking where he was. They were wondering. But then, at Hell in a Cell, the Fiend took out the Universal Champion, Seth Rollins, and choked him out. And then he wanted a match with Seth, but not for the title, to bestow fear. After Seth argued many times with Heyman, he finally agreed and sanctioned the match. The Fiend would destroy Seth Rollins. It'd be one of the most one-sided matches at International Show. And the next few weeks after that, he would destroy Monday Night Raw's roster. But until Paul Heyman banished him to SmackDown, where he'd meet Aleister Black. They would then fight at Survivor Series, but the Fiend would overpower him, with Black giving him his best shot. But then at TLC, the Fiend wanted to fight Seth again, but Paul Heyman said only if it's TLC rules. Later on, Seth demanded it be a title match, and Paul Heyman finally agreed in the Go Home Raw episode. The Fiend would beat Seth Rollins and stake his claim as Raw's ruler. The Demon would then return after a full brand battle royal for the Universal title, where the Fiend would retain against Balor at Royal Rumble. The Fiend would then go in feuds with The Undertaker and Matt Hardy, beating them at the 2 consecutive pay-per-views, while associating himself with Luke Harper again. But his reign of terror over Raw would all end at WrestleMania, when Roman Reigns beat him in a hard-fought match for the Universal title. After that, it's up to WWE what they do. But here's what I'd do. I would write the Fiend off TV until he could make a big return a few months down the line at SummerSlam or something. So that's how I'd book the Fiend. Let me know what you think. And this has been Suplexes.